Let me tell you how I found out my family didn't just survive America's storms who changed them. It started with a phrase that cut sharper than any knife, echoing through the cold marble lobby of First National Bank. You people don't belong in here. I wish I could say I was surprised, but after 60 years, you get used to the stares, the little digs, the feeling that your place is always somewhere else, never right here, in the center of power. That day, I was standing at teller window number 3, holding a business check for $15,000. My hand shook just a little, not from fear, but from the kind of anger that rises in your chest when you know you're about to be tested all over again. Across from me, Jessica Cole-Young, polished, blonde highlights, that expression folks use when they want to let you know you're not want to theme me my check like it might bite her. She didn't even bother to look up, just muttered, "We have standards here." You know what I mean? The kind of standard that shifts depending on what you look like, what you wear, where you're from. I try to keep it together, sliding the check forward. "Ma'am, this is a legitimate business deposit, MW Capital Holdings to Washington Family Enterprises. I've been banking here for 12 years. That got her attention. She finally looked me up and down, sneering. 12 years? I seriously doubt that. She picked up my check like it might stain her French manicure and started muttering about someone like you with that much money. I could almost hear her internal monologue running wild. Knockoff bag, probably a scammer, probably cooked this up at home. Above us, that big flat screen kept flashing all those shiny corporate ads about trust and opportunity mortgages, investment opportunities, customer testimonials with smiling faces. But none of those faces looked like mine, and nobody in that lobby seemed to want me there. I could feel the heat of every eye in the place boring into my judging, doubting, waiting for me to trip up. Jessica's voice rang out, sharp as a gavel. "I'm going to need you to explain your relationship to MW Capital Holdings." She wanted everyone in that room to hear it. My cheeks burned, but I stood tall. "It's my son's firm. He sends monthly support." She just laughed, loud and cruel. "And I suppose you're some kind of mogul, too?" Now she was talking to the next teller, ratcheting up the drama. The humiliation crept through me, slow and hot. I thought about my parents in Georgia, surviving worse for less. Dignity, they taught me, is something you carry in your bones. Jessica was desperate not to lose her job as single mother, haunted by a mistake that cost her old bank $17,000. She wasn't just protecting the bank. She was protecting herself, her little girl, a job that kept a roof overhead. Sometimes it's fear, not hate, that makes people cruel. But that doesn't mean you let it slide. I handed her every document I had: license, business registration, bank statements. She studied them like a detective at a crime scene, still determined to find something wrong. "This address doesn't match our system." I explained. "We moved the office, submitted the form 3 weeks ago." She said no record in her system. Everything about me suspicious, like I was auditioning for a part 1, could never win. She tried to confiscate my check, pending investigation. That's when I put my foot down, as polite as I could muster. "I'd like to speak with your manager, please." She gestured to the back office. "That won't be necessary. I have full authority." Still, she called Mark Stevens, the branch manager, over. Mark came out, nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, eager to smooth things over without making waves. He tried to explain standard procedure, nothing personal, just business. I could feel my patience thinning to a thread, my voice icy but steady. "This is my son's legitimate business. I won't be treated like a criminal after a decade of loyalty." Mark looked at the growing line behind me, sweat blooming under his collar. An old white man in a suit shook his head. Maybe at Jessica, maybe it didn't matter. Mark wanted to take it somewhere private. I refused. Let everyone see what this bank does to loyal customers. The whole room shifted. Cell phones came out, conversations died, a tension built that you could taste. Jessica reached for my check, and before I could react, she tore it upright in front of me, ripped it in half, then in quarters, letting the pieces flutter down like confetti made of shame. The world seemed to freeze. I gathered the pieces slowly, refusing to cry, moving with the dignity I learned from my mother. But inside, I remembered every overnight shift to pay for my son's tuition, every late night tutoring him through accounting, every sacrifice made so he could stand tall. The humiliation burned through me, but I would not bow. Outside, I called my son Marcouche was the reason for that check, the reason I fought so hard. They destroyed your support check again, called me a fraud, a criminal. I could hear his anger rising, his voice the same steely calm I'd taught him. Go back inside, Mom. Don't leave until they make this right, and don't you dare stay quiet this time. I almost laughed, remembering telling him that exact thing when he was bullied as a kid. Walking back into that bank felt like walking in a battle. Jessica was furious, ma'am. I thought we were done here. I asked for Mark again. He was sweating bullets now, suggesting maybe I'd be happier at a different bank. Jessica called security. The guarda, good man, just doing his job, looked uncomfortable, but he started toward me. Customers were muttering now, louder, angrier. An elderly black veteran stood up, his voice ringing out, "That lady didn't do nothing wrong." Mark tried to shut him down, but the veteran didn't back off. Treating people with respect is everyone's concern. Jessica, desperate now, called the police, accusing me of fraud. I felt my heart race. Arrest would ruin everything. I leaned in, voice low. Before you do that, you might want to check your corporate directory. See who owns this bank now. Mark frowned, confused, but then phone started ringing. 1, 2, then the main line, then Jessica's, then everyone's. The lobby screen flickered, changing from mortgage ads to a corporate announcement. Earth National Bank is proud to announce our new CEO, Marcus Washington, of MW Capital Holdings. My son's face appeared, filling the screen. The whole room froze. Jessica went pale. Mark looked ready to faint. I said quietly, "The same company on the check you just destroyed. The company that owns this bank." Phones buzzed with urgent calls from headquarters, from HR, from regional directors. The applause started with that old veteran. Then everyone joined in, thunderous, rolling, shattering the shame that had been dumped on me. Minutes later, Marcus walked in's harp suit, calm, furious, every bit the leader I'd raised. He hugged me, then turned to the crowd, apologizing for the disruption. He reminded me and everyone thereof what I'd taught him. Sometimes staying quiet keeps you safe, but it never keeps you right. He faced Jessica, asked about her daughter, then asked, "How would you feel if someone treated you the way you treated my mother?" Her tears were real. Marcus pulled the security footage, watched as Jessica tore up the check, then turned to me. "Mom, what would you do if you could fix this?" I told him, "I didn't raise you to be cruel, but I didn't raise you to let cruelty slide either. Justice with humanity, always." When Marcus learned about Jessica's past, her fear, her struggles as a single mom, Mark's background in foster care, decided on something rare: consequences with compassion. Jessica was terminated as a teller, but offered a path back after bias training. Mark was demoted, not fired, and required to attend sensitivity training. Marcus set up scholarships, support programs for employees in crisis, because the answer isn't just punishing people, it's changing the system that made them desperate in the first place. The story blew up on social media, not just because of the humiliation, but because of what happened next: how Marcus used the scandal to push industry-wide reforms. Mandatory bias training, new complaint procedures, employee support. He stood next to me at press conferences, telling the world, "This isn't about one incident. It's about changing the way we do business for everyone." Jessica became a customer advocate, Mark started consulting on equity, and the whole industry took note. Business schools taught our story. New hires learned from our pain. A year later, I walked back into that same bank, not to do business, but to watch the changes take root. The new tellers greeted every customer with kindness. Jessica helped families navigate services, and I realized this was never about revenge. It was about dignity and the difference one person can make when they refuse to sit down or shut up. When I testified before Congress, I told them, this didn't happen because my son had power. It happened because we chose to respond with both justice and mercy. The real question is, what happens to the mothers who don't have a CEO for a son? Now, if you made it this far, let me ask you, when you see injustice, do you choose silence or do you speak up? When you have the power to fix something, will you choose destruction or transformation? That's how justice grows: one moment of courage, one refusal to accept the unacceptable. I found my voice that day, and I hope when your moment comes, you'll find yours too.